Hello, everyone. This is Navy Vet 82. For those who don't understand, Navy Vet stands for Navy Veteran, so that you know this. I'm doing this basically to cover the H-1B visas and what the different Elon Musk and Donald Trump and the Governor Abbott have said about them. And the issue is not the fact that we're issuing them, because they do help our economy and they do help our people that are using them. But the catch is why do we have to use H-1B visas? Why do we have to hire these people that have been trained in college, have master's degrees, have PhDs? Why do we need to hire these people with bachelors? That is the best question that we need to ask ourselves. What has caused us to need these other people? And you'll find that as time has gone on, our education system has dropped off. And this is what people need to realize. A lot of what we're doing and a lot of what we're fighting is due to the education system not fulfilling its needs. And I recommend that the U.S. government send out an investigation team, investigate the different countries and what they use for math. Because I am sorry, when Chinese and Asian students can beat us in math and we're not moving up to that standard, there's something wrong. We're also, I'm seeing a lack of pushing for STEM education. That's scientific, technology, and engineering, mathematicians. Those jobs are not getting a lot of push, and that's where we need to have the push. Not only those, but also in education and teachers. You'll find that the H-1B visas do bring in people for different higher level jobs, programming, computers, engineering, things like that. That's the primary uses of those H-1B visas. Some people have used them without fulfilling the needs of them, and you can find those people. But now let's look at some of the statistics. I'll share the screen. Let's see. If you want to look into the research of the customs, here's characteristics of H-1B specialty occupational workers, and you can go through here and scroll through and see. This is from 2024, done by the Customs and Immigrations. Petition filed for initial continuing employment, FY 2024. 2020 to 2024. Yeah, that's during 2020 to 2024 would be Biden, which that's this. And I'll go into more figures later on. This is the 4 years of Biden, and we could go before that. New employment, 35% extension, amendments, and change of employers. That's the breakdown. Now, if we go to this is H-1B since 2000. In 2000, you see there's 1,000 or 178,803, and in 2024 there's 39,000 and 39,403. And in the beginning, there was 442,425, and that was in 2021. Guess who that was? And you see this gray big renewal and the new applications. These renewals are people that are not getting their citizenship, and they just need to renew that. They renew it and keep working as an H-1B visa. Don't know what the steps are. There's a video attached to my Substack that gives the layout of how to do this. You can actually contact attorneys and they can go in more details. Let's see. Let's scroll to the page. Yeah, okay. The share of H-1B visas denial reached a high in 2018, which was Donald Trump. He is denying them. But now if you look at 2024, they're down here. Well, they're not accepting those, why they're way down. But so that's why that is. I mean, these are people that looking for a job and fulfilling a job in the United States. And why would firing them have a difference? Well, and you can go through here and look at this. Computer related, see, architect and engineer, education. These are the different jobs that used H-1B visa. And that was workers approved in 2023. And look at the computer related. Right there is our main concern. There's the salaries. And I go into that in a little more detail. Let's see. This is a breakdown of the number of science, technology, engineering, mathematics, degrees, certificates, post-secondary institution by ethnicity level, degree, certificate, and sex of students. And that breaks it down right here. Asian Pacific Islander, that's a tough one right there because you have a Pacific Islander, which is Hawaii and those islands. Asians, of course, you know what the Asians are. And then there's the total. These numbers total to this number. Then you have these numbers over here, the Black, Hispanic, and whites. Two races are here, and non-residents is over here. So out of 789,264 fulfilling these jobs, 104,178 are non-residents, and that's, you can look at that chart, and it's also linked in my Substack story. Okay, and then here's for Texas. These two graphs are on there. These are salaries. If you look, yeah, here you go. These are the salary distribution by wage levels. And you can see the different wage levels right there. So here's the difference in values. There's your mean. So you can look at the minimum salary, mean salary, which is not average, but is the middle. Medium salary, median salary, same thing basically, a little less. 75 top percentile, 90 top percentile, and max salary. So that breaks it down for you. Here we go. That's nothing. Every Texan. Okay, yeah. Here you look at the countries that STEM grows from. But you can see here, STEM, top countries provide number of STEM graduates. China is number one with 33.57 million. India is next, 2.55 million. United States, 820,000. Russia, 520,000. Indonesia is 300,000, and so on and so forth. All the way down to Japan is 192,000. 3.57 million STEM graduates in China. 2.55 million in India. Why are those two pushing more graduates in those fields than the United States? And that's where the education system needs to be reevaluated, because we're not graduating people and pushing them into the STEM and that stuff. So that's why we're seeing this lack, is because of the lack of education is not geared towards helping people get into these fields. Some districts have got different high school curricula depending on where you want to go. And I understand that some people should know where you're wanting to go, and that's the amendment one. Okay. Here's the article. Here's the article I've got on my Substack with the different charts. Here's these the sources I've used, and some of those where I've showed the graphs in, and then the H-1B visa explained, and that's a YouTube video that goes in detail on what's required. The video provides a clear visual breakdown of the H-1B visa application process and the lottery system mentioned in the article. Okay, the lottery system, what they do is they have so many people applying for that same H-1B visa. They go, okay, we're only going to have 85,000 H-1B visa. 20 of those will be upper, the PhD and masters. So they take the 20 and separate those people out, and they raffle off 20,000 positions, basically random. It's supposed to be random. And those people get the 20,000 for masters and PhD. Then the 65,000, those people are put into a pot. Those are usually bachelor and associates and other certificates are put into a pot, and they're raffled off, and they raffle off randomly who gets those positions, the 60,000. And usually they have 200,000 people applying for these. Probably dropping off now, but hey, that's neither here nor there. So that's how they do it. That's a basic overview. And I'm showing you that the fact is, they keep saying that we need to stop hiring these H-1B visas, but to stop hiring them, we're going to have to push education. So we need to correct our education issue. We also need to find out why college degrees have cost so much. As I haven't pulled it up on the computer, but when I graduated from high school in 1985, I had a Texas A&M book, and the credit hours were $5 or $7 a credit hour. Plus your fees and all that were still up in the hundreds, or they weren't $100, they were in the 50s, 20s, or somewhere in there. They weren't as high as they are now. Now, that was for Texas A&M, which is a university and the state level, the state guarantee, or state college. But when I went in 2021 to a junior college, basically what is junior college? It's a 2-year college that gives you first 2 years. Or a 2-year degree, associate's degree. That job cost me, or that employment, that was about almost $100 a credit hour. I forget what the exact amount is. I'd have to look it up, but let's put it this way. It cost me almost $7,000 per semester to get that degree. We go back and we look at, mine was paid for, but it's neither here nor there. We go back in time. when I went to Texas State Technical College, now it used to be Institute, it cost me $2,500 a year to go through that course. That's books, room and board, basically, all the books, semester, the credit hours, and all tools that I needed for that course was $5,000 for 2.5 years, from 1987 to 1989. No, from 1986 to 1988 in July. So yeah, so basically 2.5 years of college. That's 1, 2, 3, 4 is 8 semesters, and then half. So 10 semesters cost me $5,000. 10 semesters last, and 2023 cost, no, yeah, it was 13,000, 14,000, 15,000, somewhere in there. And that's not including housing, because that was through another. But that's our problem. Why is college so expensive? Why are we not ensuring that more people are getting to college? Why are we not offering at least 2 years of paid college? And I don't see how come this is not happening. We have the richest country. We are listed as the richest country in the world. Why are we having an issue with our education system? Why is no one putting a standard saying these are the minimum requirements that you need for college? These are the minimum requirements you need to graduate high school with a high school diploma. And we have the core curriculums: the English, the science, the math, English, math, science, physical education, history, art of some kind, electives. So you have your core curriculum. And when I went in, PE was as you either did 4 years of PE or 2 years of athletics. That's the football and all that. And that was offered during class time. In 9th and 10th grade, the athletics that I went to for basketball was at the first period of the day. And then you went to your regular school, and the PE was throughout the day. So they've stopped doing that. They still have PE, from what I understand, but they don't have the athletics. That's an after-school care. Why? I don't know. They're trying to cut back on it and to fulfill their education requirements. So here's the bottom line. If you look at all our issues we have today, what does it all stem from? We have the MAGA that is believing the propaganda, that is not researching. Why is that? Because our education system is not helping. The H-1B visas and our immigrants coming into work. Why is that? Because of people in the United States not being able to go to college as much as they should. They're saying 65% of the people are going to college from high school graduate. I don't know exactly where they get that figure from, because I think that's a little high. And you can find the research in mine, but it still seems high. But I think the main problem is we don't need people going so far in debt that they're spending the rest of their life paying off their high school or college degree. That is wrong. It needs to stop. That stems from the high school and what they do. Okay, let's go back to, so you see that. Okay, stop sharing my screen. Stop sharing my screen. And that's what I want to round it up here. We need to push STEM courses and education also. We need to push those through and ensure that we get more graduates going into those programs. I think we should surpass, well, per capita, I don't have the figures per capita, that's the total number. We need to surpass India and China on that. We need to become the industry leaders again. We need to push people to go to college. We need to push free college. We need to push, because to ensure a free college and to ensure Medicare for all, we need to tax the rich, tax the big businesses. They all need to be taxed equally. So if you raise the taxes to 50%, 35 to 50%, you can definitely pay for medical, internet for everybody in the United States, cable TV for everybody in the United States, and also put in for at least a 2-year education. We raise that up, hit to 50%, and that will start pushing into covering up our Social Security gaps, getting our education back on track. We need to look at the other countries and figure out what they are doing on their employment, because you go to, I may get this wrong, but people I've talked to in the bigger professional jobs in Denmark, Norway, United Kingdom, in those areas, they do a contract. They do a real contract. When you sign on to work, we do a job, you sign on for a set period of time and you lay out, these are my duties. This is how much I'm going to pay. This is how much my raise is. And that's your contract. 2, 3, 4, 5 years. Maybe longer for some, but those are the contracts when you walk in. That's your contract. You break that contract, you have to pay them. They break the contract, they have to pay you. And I think that would bring back the way we used to have people wanting to stay at the jobs. And that's the other issue we're having is people's not staying with the companies because the company's turning over so much because they're not continuing to help. And that's the things that I'm seeing is a buildup upon lack of education caused the problem. And then we're not having minimum wage and companies keeping up with salaries and increasing them as they should. Those are the issues I'm seeing. If they can't increase their salary due to lack of profits and they're going under in profits, then they need to start laying people off. That's the issues we have. We should not allow a company, if they're laying people off in the United States, to fire people in the United States, they should not be able to go over to another country and subcontract that country to do certain things like the human resources or the computer help desk. That should not be allowed. If you are laying people off and you're not using American companies for your assistance, but you go to another country, that should have to pay penalties. They should have to pay penalties. And to say that, oh, that'll raise the prices. The states that have the higher minimum wage and add to the federal minimum wage have more money in the local state than the red states that have the federal minimum wage. Those are the facts. So make colleges give the more reasonable education, pay for people to go to state colleges, and offer to pay a percentage, not the full thing, of them going to MIT, those colleges, those Ivy League colleges that are not state run. They need to have a program that pays for, basically, if you went to education at a state college, this is how much we pay, so that's how much we'll put towards your degree here at this college. And I would also require that those colleges diversify their hiring across all avenues of the financial low income, middle income, and upper class. Those needs need to be fulfilled in those colleges. They need to offer scholarships that will guarantee a lower or middle income will be paid for in college. We should not be going into debt forever. Our capitalist system needs to be curtailed. It needs to have guardrails put in place. We should not be going all out and not hiring people and increasing their salary. If there's increase in inflation, pay should go up. The pay should match the inflation. And I'm sorry, the state and federal governments need to match the minimum wage because living on Social Security is not able to, people are not always able to pay for their bills. And yeah, they get food stamps, but that didn't cover the rent and the utilities. What's covering that? We need those programs put in place to cover that. And I don't agree that a minimum Social Security, if a person's living alone, they should be able to live in not maybe the house when they had kids, but the smallest house in the area. Like in my house is a 3-bedroom. And well, the 2 bedrooms were more expensive in areas I didn't want to be. So I've got a 3-bedroom. And there's not a lot of 2 bedrooms in the area I went. The ones that were downtown were way too expensive or way too run down and I couldn't get the loan through VA because of the way the house was. It was run down or it was having issues and didn't meet standards for the inspection, which is a good thing. So everybody keeps dividing these issues off, and we need to divide the financial pots off. I think that we need to go back to the original way of doing the federal government. Each department has a budget that goes through as a budget instead of all this is the budget. And they do that so they confuse things. What they need to do is Department of Defense, there's your budget. Department of Department of Homeland Security, Immigration, all that, here's your budget. Department of Education, here's your budget. That's what needs to be done. Go back to that system where each department gets so much money to spread amongst some people and spread equally per capita. And how am I going to wear this? Don't make the states that make more money pay in more money. If they make more money, yeah, the taxes are going to go up, but that's normal. Don't have them put extra money into the federal government where other states need to put it in. Rambling up, let me land this plane. So the problem is H-1B visas are being used because we do not have the people graduating from college to fulfill the needs of STEM programs in education. And that's who's using H-1B visas. What can we do to correct that? To correct that, we need to correct our education system K through 12. Once we improve that and we put a standard in place that says this is the minimum standards and go away from the testing to see where people stand, go back to allowing teachers to set forth their education curriculum and what their grades are. And they pass that away, then that's the way to pass. Doing the testing to find out where people are do not work. We need to get away from testing, teaching the test, because now people don't know how to balance a textbook. You go to Texas, they don't know how to balance a checkbook. They don't know what happened December 7th, 1941. They don't know about the three branches of government because that's not part of the test. History is not part of the test, which it should be. But hey, reading, mathematics, and science, that's the test. Or reading and mathematics are the two parts of the test. What about science? What about this? What about that's our breakdown. We are not forcing the education system to teach to a college entrance. Some of them do, some of them don't. That should be across the board. This is the minimum requirements to get a high school diploma, and this is if you need to go to college, this should be your curriculum. So I would suggest the curriculum be set for going to college across the board, teach them to go to college. Now, if they go for certain degrees, they're going to go, they know they're going to go into politics. They have this curriculum set up with the basics down there that they have to have, and this setup. I do believe that athletics and PE need to be brought back into the schools more, and they should teach fitness. They should teach health and how to eat. They should teach government throughout this 12 K through 12. They should have at least one course per through up to at sixth grade. They should have one course for fifth and sixth grade. Here's what our government is: basic breakdown of checks and balances and what each branch is. In 10th through 12th, you have your state and local or state and federal state courses to teach you the Texas government and Texas layout. I think we also need to revamp the way the history is taught, because we teach history. We get a little bit of U.S. history, then we get a state history, then we go back into American history, I think is the one in college or high school first year, and then world history, U.S. history again, and then last year's government and economics. What I think should happen is when you start fifth grade, you go over a basic understanding of government and a basic understanding of the history. Keep that the same all the way up to that point. Once you get into the sixth, seventh, eighth grade, which is junior high in most cases, post-secondary, or is middle school, or in some places junior school. I forget what the foreign school is called. But sixth through eighth grade should be start with your state, go through your state all the way up to the point to it becomes part of the United States. So you cover that from beginning to that part. The next year you start world history and you cover the world history outside the United States from the beginning of time, whenever that world history starts teaching, to starting of the United States. That's taught. Now you take those two and you go into your next grade, or how about that should be the world history should be seventh and eighth grade. And then when you start your high school, you go from war history, wherever you left off. Usually I'd say if you got to World War One, you teach World War One to World War Two, and probably to about the 60s or the 90s. Let's go to the 80s. That's when computers really started. So you go up to World War One is in seventh and eighth grade. World War One to 1980s is the sophomore year, which covers all that, which also goes a little bit into world history, explaining how we are working throughout the world and how we get that economy. Then at that point, once you get to 11th grade, as long as you've gone all the way up to present day, you start the government for government is 1 year, which goes into checks and balances, laws, the Constitution, all that needs to be laid out. and how our government was set up. That should be junior year. Senior year should be U.S. economics and how it pertains to the economy of the U.S., the world, and how the world interacts with us. That needs to be the next grade. That should be what it should be so they progress through. Mathematics, they need to study what different countries do and go into that detail because if you learn the techniques that Chinese and Japanese and Indians and all of them use, I mean, Indians from India, learn those techniques that they use, you will find out more and get people further along in school, and people will enjoy math because I've seen their math. It works. It's quick and it makes sense. There's shortcuts that they can use. I understand teaching people this is the way you do it, but teach them that, then teach them the shortcuts that the rest of the world uses so they can learn it because their math, I've went through the method that they use in China, and that's pretty good at solving cases. And if you can get them solving all the way up to high level math in sixth grade, seventh grade they do algebra, eighth grade they do geometry. When they go into college, you've already got the algebra 1, that was eighth grade. Geometry's eighth grade. Ninth grade is algebra 2. 10th grade is calculus, trigonometry, and then up from there. By doing that, you will get more people more educated and more further along. And I think we should do like a lot of other countries is they go through their school, and once they get into post-secondary school, which is what we consider high school or college, I think it's college, what we consider college, they take, and it goes right out of that, there's 10th, 11th, 12th, and then on, they actually start teaching college level at that point. And that's what we need to do. We need to start tailoring our education system around the rest of the world, and we will do away with the need of H-1B visas. We need to penalize countries that go out of the United States to hire the HR and tech support. Those need to be contained within the United States because not only is it a money going outside the United States, it's also an issue of timing. And that's what happens to a lot of companies. They'll use those and then realize the timing's wrong and it doesn't work. So they usually go back to the United States. But I think those should be penalized for using those. And that will get more people in the United States hired on in those positions. I also believe that an H-1B visa should be set period of time. I should be, okay, you have an H-1B visa for the next 4 years. You can either finish and get your citizenship and continue on, or once you hit that H-1B visa, unless there's a good reason to extend that contract, that H-1B visa should be you going back to your country. And that way we will produce, and we won't keep these people in that are stuck in those jobs. If we restrict the amount of time they can use them, they will have to hire within. That's our problem, is capitalism is pushing the way laws are written. If an H-1B visa is working for a company, now there is a catch to that, and I will go over that. If your country is outside the United States, is the primary place of it, you can use your own people to work in the U.S. as managers and trainers. And I think over time, you should lessen that. I mean, that's up to the company, decide what that is, but there's how we go from there. That would improve our system. I hope you understand there's a breakdown of the H-1B visas and who's getting them and all that on my Substack. And you can go in there and do details. A lot of this was my opinion, but it's stuff I've seen and things I've heard going through time. So thank you for your time, and please push our education to be revitalized and for the U.S. government to investigate what works in education. Take our top schools, start that as a model, and then go into 4 countries and see what they use to work. I've seen some do half day, and their kindergarten class is not in the classroom. It's out in the real world, and they see the animals, see the trees, see that, and explain how that goes, and that teaches them about the earth and how it goes on that level. Then in first grade, you go into different stuff. That's what other education system doing, and they have better students. We need to have the camaraderie of people wanting to stay at the job like we used to. And we need to penalize the companies that want to go outside the United States. That I agree with. But to say, I'm going to cut H-1B visas totally out that's not the answer either, because that creates a job gap. But they're leaving out some details. I'm not accepting H-1B visas. Are you renewing H-1B visas? Are you giving them a path of citizenship? All that being said, think about this. Who are they deporting? And what is their driving factor of who they're deporting? And now go from that to who the H-1B visas are and what's eventually going to happen to that. And I'm going to probably go again in detail on immigration and what they're doing with ICE because of the fact that ICE is not fully investigating who they're deporting. They are deporting people at their jobs, at their work, deporting them after they get out of dropping the kids off at school, using kids and some have been left behind and no one to follow and no one there to take care of the children. And now the children become a ward of the state. So what are we doing to solve that problem? And that's where we need to look at it. We need to start holding them accountable and telling them, go back to the way you're doing. If you're going to deport the people who commit crime, they're going through the court system. They're going to end up with prison time if they're guilty, and that'll get deported. I've got another thing for the court system that I may go into later, but I want to start doing a live covering this information and seeing what other people think and maybe having guests up to explain it. And I would like to start having more people on the panel. I'm just going to start doing lives also. I would like to do them on Substack and YouTube, but those require 1,000 on YouTube and another. I would like to have at least another 50 on Substack. I'd like to get up to 100 at least on Substack, which would be 90, 93 or something like that. But I want to start doing it where I can call on Attorney Dye for stuff. Have Attorney Dye, Barrister, Law of the Wild, and Rollo, those that have a law discussion about different steps of law, and that would give immigration all the way to constitutional law. We get Barrister does the claims for workman's comp. That's what I want to get to. That is one. Then I'll do history and get maybe some of this history professor would like to come on and explain history. We need to learn history. We need to learn the real history, not what the whitewashed history. And then maybe go into how to do immigration, how to go to other countries, what other countries are looking for, and do that because we need to start people educated. If someone would like some courses on help on math, I have some math. I'm working on calculus. I'm having an issue with calculus. I have an electrical engineering degree based upon, I've got a degree, Bachelor's of Science in Electrical Engineering based upon jobs I did, which is not, a lot of companies don't take that, which means I can't go, most of the times I won't be going as an electrical engineer. Some will take it because of my experience. So there's that. I am trying to finish I'm up in age, so it's getting hard. I don't want to try to go to college right now, but we will maybe go into college and get more of a degree and have fun because I know a lot of little things about doing soldering and working electronic circuits. I can build small ones. I can build an LED. I can build a power supply. I can build that stuff. And I'll need to refresh my memory on how to do data cycles, how to do load. But if anybody needs help, contact me and we'll see if we can work out a deal and go from there. Because I do have an electronics background. I do know some of the Navy stuff. I can help some of the people in the Navy on how to take the test. If they need that, let me know what y'all think I should cover. And let's start this and build this area up. Because I think we need to start focusing and helping people in the future and help them understand and not get to this point again. And if we knew true history instead of whitewashed history, this is not the first time our democracy and our system has been challenged. It has been challenged throughout history. We had a rocky start. We didn't start with the Constitution. We started with the Articles of Confederation, and I've done a video on that. So let's go from there. Help me out. Let's decide. I'll probably cut this part off and do a separate video. But send me text, DM me, and let me know what you think, and see if we can set up possible other lives. Maybe I'll do lives on TikTok as long as they allow me, and then look at the other base apps to do those. But let's work together, and we'll see if we can get a thing started where people can work together, and I can get other people to come on the panel. Thank you for your time. Like, share, follow. Please remember you are loved no matter what you do, and subscribe to my other socials on YouTube and our YouTube. TubaU is the TikTok version, and the Substack. Let me get those people up, and so we can see more. You can find those links in my Substack. And on my link tree at the very top, there's the emblems. The emblems you see are for like TubaU, Patreon, and such, and furthermore. My Patreon is pay. I'm a little slack on the Patreon because Patreon is more of my book that I'm writing. I've got a book, and I've got almost 200 pages on the book, so I need to finish that, and that'll kick that off. And it's delayed me because of what's going on in the government. But thank you for your time. Let's see what we can get going. And goodbye. Remember, you are loved no matter what you do. Hope to see you around. And we will get through this. Remember that. Have hope that we will get through this. Goodbye.